right, here we go. This is the next phase of work that I'm about to dig into. Now, we've talked in the past about the modeling and how that ties into this menu here. So there's an article I wrote about it, like how ship customizations work. Thing is, I didn't go into terrible detail about the process of like what it will take to do that. It really just kind of talks about where we were and what we had built in Unity in the past. So this is a lot of the same. So looking at this screen here, you can juxtapose or compare it to what we have now in Unreal. So it's very similar, um, but now there's some differences, right? Like we've got it to where you can like pick this thing up and move it around, and oh, it's not totally stable, but you can see the similarities there. What else do we have? So we've rebuilt this in Unreal, and it's a lot more snazzy, and it doesn't limit us to just 8 ships anymore. So this guy right here is what I'm going to start talking about. I'm going to go into my notes, and when we're looking at this puck and this center view here, when you click on this specific angle, which there aren't icons yet in the Unreal version, but when you click on this icon, it'll take you to this ship customization screen where you can change the ship. Now, that's where we're going to start with the modeling. So I want to pull up all the ship models and get them in the game. So if we kind of zoom in on this guy here, we'll have this view, and then as an example, we're kind of looking to make something like this. Now, this is the web version, so it's different than what we can do in Unreal. What we can do in Unreal is a lot more uh, detailed, like it's a lot more powerful, so we have a lot more freedom in there. We can actually put the model in the card and do different things to it. So this being on the web is a little limited, but conceptually this is what we're going for. And there's different quality levels. So if let me back out of this article for a second. There's different quality levels and stuff, so that'll affect how we do it. Let me crack open a different image. Okay, so this is a very old drawing of like how the team would work together. And so these customization screens here would represent customizing weapons. And so like there have been a lot of weapons that are modeled. And then there's the ships themselves. And so whenever we're in these menus and we're customizing parts, we would have references to the ship models, where that thing is, where that weapon's at, and what it looks like. And so these are very old concepts. So I think it'll be a little different, but overall, conceptually, it's going to be the same thing. So the main thing to focus on right now is going to be this top section here, where we're going to be clicking different cards and then changing the ship based off of which card that they're picking. So to reference that to what we have here in current space, let me full screen this. So whenever they select one of these guys, and we don't have the confirmation yet, but they'll be able to confirm, like, oh, I want this. And you can see all these are empty. That's because I haven't pulled the models in. I think the only ones that are in right now are the Swan and the Goose. So there's a lot of other ships that we can pull in and fill these guys in. So I'm going to run through that. And then, of course, when they click it, this model will change, and then this whole card will change over here. If we look closely, so if I'm hitting F8, and then you can see that this is a facade. And so what we have is a particle engine, and then you have the actual 3D model. And we're just doing a still frame of the model. But when the camera is set up, it'll be in such a way that it'll feel like it's popping out of the card, if you just get that angle right. So that's kind of how we're doing it. Now, these cards are a little different. You can see how much space this requires, and so that's not actually going to work. So what we need is something that can fit a model in a tighter space like this. And so what I had thought to do was get the same model and then just kind of cut it to, like mesh slice it and, have it in there to where it doesn't bleed out too far. Um, and so we would do something similar here, but not necessarily the same intensity. So like the big car that's on the side has a full model in it, and it'll be animated and the wings will be flapping or whatever. Like it'll just be moving in the wind. But then these cars are more static and they don't move, and because there's not space for that. It doesn't have space for the full particle engine and stuff. So it is a different problem. The big card has this full menu here that you can interact with, and press F8 again. You can interact with this menu here and make adjustments, but we don't want that on all these small cards, for example. So, okay. The other thing to keep in mind, I don't think it's going to complain. Hold on. So conceptually, this is the same as this screen here, but it's going to be different from the mock. We'll have to do some other changes to include pagination and stuff so that we can handle more cards, because people will be collecting a lot more cards in this. All right, so the next thing we should look at, walking through the menu that we have right now. So I draw these at first before making them. So what we're looking at here, let me start over. Hit play. So these buttons here on the side, the one on the left is existing matches that you have going. So here's a disk here, and this is a number of existing matches. And then the one on the right here is customization. So you can come and make new fleets, edit existing ones. So when you click this button, you'll get this screen, which has a list of your fleets and their configuration. So fleet configuration consists of the position the ships are in, which is very important for a tactics game like this. Then the type of ship and all of the other details like the weapons and stuff, which determine its attack arc. Um, so if we open this up, what we have here, and this is dummy data right now, you'll see they're all identical, but it is that example here where it has a miniature table, which is what we see in the background in 3D, but then it has the positions that you've put them in. So we have that built out. And then you can click new. None of these work right now. These don't do anything yet. But this new button will take you into this flow where it gives you the blank table, and you can hit add unit. And then from here you can, customize this guy. Now, let me see. So we hit new. Let me go to this next page here. Can I just hit next on this? Is that gonna? Yeah, there we go. You can do that. So you can hit new, which is what we just did, and then this thing will fall down. So it kind of spawns out of camera range and drops down. And that's happening. So we got that taken care of. Now what it does presently is it randomly selects us whatever is available to you. So it just picked the goose. It'll randomly select a card in your inventory. But currently, since we don't have a real inventory, we're just setting it between the goose and the swan. Now, clicking on the unit, being able to drag it and move it around is a key aspect of this. So the positioning and the starting location of all your ships matter a lot. Like, so if this is an artillery ship and needs to be defended, and it only has long range attacks, maybe you want it in the back of your fleet arrangement. And then the facing angle as well. So right now there's no ability to control the facing angle, and that's another thing that we'll need to add in, is like the ability to turn this guy. And so I had that in mind for when we pick it up, that you could press like E and Q or L and R on a controller and then rotate the ship. So for now, just kind of skip that. So there are some things that we're skipping. This dial here, you'll remember from the blog article, which I'll pull back here. This is the same dial, and so what we have is that dial in this game, but there's no icons yet, so it's hard to recognize. But this has like mathematical positions for just detecting where where the click is happening at. So right now we're only supporting this top left quadrant. So you have this thing, the little vaporgrams up, and you can click on it, and it'll bring up these cards. And so getting all of that to work was time consuming, so we got all that figured out. So we got all this math worked out and the trigonometry for the angles and stuff. And then recently, this past week, we've got the card hovers working to where you can get hover events and you can select a card. And then what we want is to get explicit ability to say, yes, I want to change to this ship, or never mind, and back out. Because right now we just have it popping up and it doesn't do anything just yet. So we want to actually swap that out. And I think that's, oh yeah, and then there's one last thing. Okay, so this is finally where we get to the models. Um, the models are only going to apply to certain quality levels on the card. So we are going to have flat images on these cards for these three, or no, four lower quality cards. The quality levels aren't going to affect the performance of the card. So like it really is just a cosmetic thing. Um, there's more about this later about how cards access different game modes and stuff, but it's not going to, like, having a legendary swan or legendary goose is no different than having this like low end one or common one. It'll have the same stats and stuff. Like there isn't a difference. So it'll just look cooler. And so the way that we make it look cooler is that we actually use 3D models for these high end ones. Um, so now here's where it comes. So I clicked on that top corner. And so we'll have all these different qualities mixed up in here because it's a unique collection of cards that you've gathered as you play the game. Now, the issue that I haven't figured out just yet is how do we put 3D models in these little boxes here? And so what I'm thinking is, and I'm kind of repeating myself from what I said earlier, is that I think we can dice the model up. So for this big view over here on the right side, we can let it be a full model, and that'll be what we rig and make it like bounce around and stuff. But then over here we would actually custom make, we would edit that model. I don't know if we can do that in Unreal, or if we should do it in Houdini, or if we should do it in Maya or whatever, but we just get that model and draw a bounding box and like just cut it, right? Like cut the background so that it's not clipping into all of this stuff, and it fits into the view, but then it's still like kind of sticking out a little bit. And we know that we can stick out at least this much. I'm saying this much, like whatever, some amount that's reasonable, because you don't want to jet out too far past, and then it starts to bleed into the next card, and it looks really bad. So I got it working right now to where this looks pretty good from the player perspective. But you can break this. So like if you can break it by just putting wacky dimension stuff in here. So yeah, that's the next problem to solve. So we want to take all the models that we have, starting with the ships, and make it to where we can click and say, yeah, I want this ship right now. And then we'll do the stuff to change it and stuff. So anyways, okay, that's phase one here. I'm going to cut the video, and then I'm going to get into the practicals of how we're going to approach this, and I'll actually just record myself doing it, and then I think we'll hopefully have something to just to go with here. Okay, we're back. Let's talk about the BP card. So when you press Control Space, it brings up this uh, content menu here, and right now we have the BP card inside of Art menu, and so there's card and a bunch of different assets which control that, so you can get it right here. The other way to find that really quickly is if you're just on content, you can type in BP card. It'll pull it up a lot faster. So looking at it this way is helpful because you can see a couple of types that we have here. So there's a BP card hand, and then we have BP card, and then there's BP card swan. So this guy is a bit of an experiment on how we can do customized cards. So I think this is the way forward for now, is we're actually, for each model or for each major card type, we would actually have a custom blueprint that derives from BP card, and that is how we can control specifics on like particle effects or sizes and just different nuances for each particular model, because it's hard to genericize this for anything that's not flat. So when you open up BP card, so you just like double click on it, it'll pop this guy open. I'll just do it again. All right, so it'll pop open. You go to viewport and you kind of get a look at it. You click on something. It's a little wonky. Normally, like in Unity, you could just click F. It doesn't work unless you click at something and then click in this canvas, and then you press F. So then that'll get it to to find this. So here's our card, and it has all the things turned on. When we initialize this at runtime, we turn it all off. So you won't really want to work in this BP card, but you can kind of look at it to just understand what's there and see what's available. Now we want it to be pretty much blank like this for the time being. I think we can. There's two ideas I have for dealing with this. One is the entirety of this card um, can be put inside of a different blueprint, like we have here for Blueprint Swan. Same thing, crack it open, go to viewport, click off here, F, and then we have this. Now, if we kind of zoom out here, like close these things up, what you're going to see is the SK symbol here, and it's the same as this guy. So whenever you pull inherit from this BP card, you get that for free, and then we're just creating a bunch of children next to it. So I just added in extra stuff. Like I added in these gears here. We added in Niagara particle effects, added in this Niagara particle effect. So you see how we can piece this scene together and kind of sanely, iteratively improve this over time. And so that's basically what we have here. And while this whole thing is just containing the card. So I think that's how we can kind of move forward here is you can just create a new blueprint, which is what I'm going to do now. I'll create one for the goose. So here we have this parent class BP card. So let's go do that. Because I already have the goose in here, like the ship. Now I do think that our models need to, oh, that's why I can't find it. Our models need to be better optimized for the card specifically. Like we probably don't need as much fidelity in them. Like we can do static nanite meshes, and I think right now I'm not doing that. But it's okay. I think for now, not worrying about that too much. We'll come back and optimize it later. I just kind of get it in there. So I want to say, what did I drag in here for the goose? Static mesh 1, static mesh. So those are the gears for the child actor. What are you? Child actor class, BP Swan colorable. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so this BP Swan colorable. Yeah, see BB Goose colorable. I guess because it's a blueprint, I don't think you can directly like drag it in maybe. I'm not sure what happened there, why it's called child actor, but I'm not an Unreal expert. So we'll just recreate this. So we got this guy, BB Swan card. Here's Goose. So we'll create a new blueprint. And I think you can search for it in here and like pull it up that way, but really you don't have to. So like say we just did actor, and I'll show you how to change it. So we can say BP card goose, and then let's go here. All right, so now we have this guy, and look, it's parent class actor. We don't want that. If you click this, it's going to open up Visual Studio, so you don't want to do that. If you want to change this, you have to come to class settings, and then parent class, let's drop down. You can do BP card here. So you can change this, and it's fairly flexible, and look at that. It brought in the whole BP card. So we can see our starting point, and it's like kind of a nice template. I don't know if you can edit things in here or what that does. I would recommend against it. And maybe it's fine, but my instinct tells me don't touch it, because if you make a change in here and then you make a change to BP card, what does it do? Does it erase it, or I don't know? It's just better not to rely on it. With that said, there are some things that I'm going to make yet another class. So later, instead of pulling from BP card, we'll probably pull from BP ship card instead, so that they have a different parent, which includes these 3 numbers down here. So that's something I'll probably make, but for the time being, I'll just ignore that. And let's focus on this. So let's just duplicate these. Static mesh, static mesh, static mesh, static mesh. Why is there 4? Oh, that's the background. Okay, so we can probably I'm just going to nab all of these, Control C. Go right here, Control V. All right. That didn't work out as great as I'd hoped, and Unreal is frozen. Can you give it back? Okay. So something I learned about this Unreal thing is like they don't like if they don't do the parenting thing. So like if you copy the parent, it doesn't copy the child. You have to like expand it and then do the copy paste operation. So now we'll do that and we get a much better. There we go. So we kind of have that in there, and this is messy and duplicate, so yeah, we'll deal with that. Okay, the next thing is I'm just gonna try and drag this BP Goose color in here and see what happens. It's gonna let me do it. All right, cool. So I got that in. It's probably the wrong angle. It might cheat a little bit. Look at what I did over here. Child actor. I'm a little bothered by this, that it's so weird. Copy all properties. So come here and paste all properties. I am cheating a little bit. Like the first time I had to figure this all out. But I don't see it. Like where is it? Where did it go? Oh, there you are. Come on, top level. And then let's paste all those properties and see what we get. Okay, so we get a roughly the configuration we want, and then just figuring out like specifics here. So this one is like significantly bigger than the Swan by design. Like we wanted it to be bigger. And like what's a respectable distance to jet out is it's like an open question and all these things. So I can kind of like mess around with that and see. Just hit save. Okay, so to express really quickly and show a problem here. So here's BP card hand. And I have this very cheap algorithm here that doesn't really take into consideration specific card types yet. So we'll get into that. I need to make that. But let's just, instead of BP card, let's just spawn BP card goose and just show the problem for when we get into yeah. So this is where the silliness begins, right? So like we can't just easily have this guy because yeah, it just sticks out. Now having it over here is probably okay, but over here it's not okay. Let me escape F11. Go back to just BB card for now. Okay, so we'll start with that. So I think the very first thing we can do is just get the models in and create that giant version because that one's much easier to work with. And so like we just made one for the goose. And so we'll put it over here to the right side of the screen and see what that looks like. So I'm going to go replace that real quick. Which right now it's in the BP Vapogram. So this guy, this is a puck that you can customize your ship over. And there is I want to say it's hard-coded. Oh, you know what it is? It's just like literally thrown in here like this. Yeah, so it's just this child actor class, BP cards one. I wonder if we can just change this. So if we go to viewport and we hit F, and click here, and then hit F, you can see here's the card. So right now we're not even spawning it dynamically, we're just hard coding it, like throwing it in here. So that's fine for now. We'll get into like I'll deal with the programmatic side of this later. So we can come here and I think maybe just change it to BP, which stands for blueprint, BP card goose. So go like that, and yeah, there we go. So we can kind of easily test that, and just so hit play, compile, and so we hit play here, and we can quickly test this and just get a feeling for that. Now, there's a lot of clicks to get to this. We could probably do better with the test scene. And so the particle effects are missing. You can see this cannon is jutting out. So like things like this, I was wondering like maybe, especially because some of the ships are really large, like we want to see the magnificent wing, right? So maybe we should tilt the ship forward to see the pretty wing feather pattern that it has. And then, yeah, that might also fix our cannon problem of jutting out. But what if it didn't? Maybe what we want to do is actually mutate this model and have a special one for the card to where it just like cuts that off so that it fits. So anyways, you can kind of mess with this. Now to do it in a slightly more efficient way. This is only slightly more efficient that I recently learned. So we got this guy over here. We have this, so we can pull them both up, and it's, again, this isn't the best experience ever, but you can see how it's not actually showing everything, which is truly bothersome. Like, it really irks me, but at any rate, we can just kind of live with what we have at the moment. And so normally when I'm not recording, I can do this on a separate screen and see better because I can full screen this guy. Now, what I've learned here is you can mess with the blueprint real time, and it will save the values. You have to use the hotkeys though. You can't access the numbers, so you have to use these controls here. And notice if you click, it's actually being quite responsive. Sometimes it doesn't update, but if you learn the hotkeys, which are W, E, and R, you really probably only need E and W for this particular case, but you can just adjust and it'll do it real time there. Just kind of mess with this until it feels right. Kind of want to see the wings more. It's like maybe if can I get that angle? Let's try. Maybe it's too much. See, the neck is really straight there, and the wings are really jutting out there. Like, so maybe it needs more angle. Like, it's like maybe that's fine, but I don't. I kind of, the rule is that it can go in front of the car but not behind it. That's the rule. So like the model can pop out as long as it's in front of the car, but since that's behind it, maybe we cut off that part of the wing. In the meantime, since we can't really do that without going into a modeling program, we can try to just like torque this, just get something that's good for the moment. But I like that other angle. Okay, so let's come back in here and press F11. Let's see what this feels like. Oh, good. Hey, I can do this with the sky open. So, so we want this side here to kind of close in on it. Yeah, like I don't want it to totally cover the card like this. Like, it doesn't feel right. It needs to feel like it's coming from the inside of it. So come back here and mess with it again. It might just need to be edited. But this is basically the kind of work that we're looking at doing. And so like the front wing here maybe gets cut off because it's going to mess with the effect there. Yeah, so I think, might require some editing and getting it to fit. So this isn't the end game model, like of course the full ship model here we would use in game for the match itself, but then this is like kind of just a quick view of it. You can also try like experimenting with different things, like pull it up. Just need to get the beak over there, yeah. So maybe something like this. And yeah, I would have to chop off some of these bits. And so, it's can be tedious, but yeah, going to require some tweaking. So we have to do this for all the ships. Some of them are going to be easier than others. Then once we have that, once we create these blueprints, so if I have help, see, once you hit stop, it'll stay in that position. So it stays. So we just create these blueprints, right? Like for these big cards, and that can help inform how to do the small ones. Now I saw online, let me see if I can, skeletal mesh. I think I might need to re-import it. I'll just look at this briefly, but I don't think we can do this in Unreal unless it's a static mesh. sometimes it feels unresponsive, but then it actually opened up in the background. That's something I'm still getting used to. Okay, so we have this guy. It's a skeletal mesh, so this I don't think this is right for this tool, but they have editing tools, and you can deform, and I think you can even like just cut chunks out. Oh yeah, here, can we do that? Make new static mesh. Let's just mess around with this. So developer folder is a place to screw around. Test goose mesh. So let's see if it, I haven't used this before, but I did read about it, and let's see. So this should be a static mesh. So now this thing we can probably dice up. So instead of pulling in that BP goose colorable, like maybe we pull that other version in. So the reason why I think we can't do this in Unreal is because we have vertex colored um, data. I'm trying to find this. Okay, here we go. We have vertex colored data, and so if we cut it inside of Unreal, what happens to that vertex colors? It's like, what does it do? So we probably need to do it in um, Houdini to keep control over the data that's on those verts so that the custom colors can come through, which isn't an issue yet. So we can ignore it for now and maybe get a prototype going in Unreal if it works, but I don't see the tools in here anymore for editing the static mesh. I mean, I know that there's something. It might be a beta plugin or something, but anywho. So this is the kind of work, I can crack this thing open in Houdini and get try and get a similar view going, and then, with the camera and the card opening, and then just kind of like dice it up. But anywho, that's it for now. So I guess to be continued. This is not, looks like we can't do it in Unreal directly, and that's okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna package this video up, send it to you, and then we'll convene and confirm like how we're gonna move forward with all these different models, because it should be more straight. I think the goose was kind of both a good and bad example. Good example to show the issues that we'll encounter, but bad example to show how simple it can be. So yeah. And Niagara and the particle effects stuff are another dimension to that too, where we can do different particle effects for different ships and things. But yeah, okay, that's it for now.